I still remember the night I stopped trusting my own silence. Nothing loud happened. No shouting. No dramatic scene. Just a feeling sitting heavy in my chest, like something had already broken and nobody bothered to tell me. He was asleep beside me, breathing slow, calm, peaceful, and I was wide awake, staring at the ceiling, asking myself the same question again and again. Why do I feel so alone when the man I love is right here? I didn't always feel this way. Once, his presence used to calm me. Once, his voice felt like home. But that night, his phone lit up on the bedside table. Just once. A soft vibration. A quick flash of light. And then silence. I didn't touch it. I didn't move. But something inside me shifted. Because when you've been loved honestly, your body knows when the truth leaves the room. I turned toward him. His face looked relaxed, almost innocent. That's what hurt the most. Not anger, not jealousy. The quiet realization that someone can sleep so peacefully while slowly tearing you apart. I told myself I was overthinking, that couples go through phases, that love isn't always exciting. That's what women like me say when we're afraid of the answer. The next morning, he kissed my forehead before leaving for work. Long day, he said. I'll be late. He didn't look at me when he said it. That was the first crack. Small, easy to ignore. But cracks don't stay small. They spread. Before everything fell apart, I was the kind of woman who believed in fixing things. I believed loyalty was louder than temptation. That honesty always found its way back. I wasn't naive. I had seen broken relationships. I had warned friends about red flags. But when it came to my own life, I believed love deserved patience. He wasn't always distant. In the beginning, he made me feel chosen, not just wanted, seen. He remembered small things, the way I took my tea, the songs I loved but never admitted. When I talked, he listened, or at least he used to. Over time, the listening stopped. He still heard me, but only enough to reply. Our conversations turned practical. Bills, schedules, plans, no feelings, no depth. I told myself this was normal, that long relationships grow quiet. But quiet is different from empty, and ours was empty long before I noticed. I started shrinking without realizing it, laughing less, asking fewer questions, because every time I tried to get close, he pulled away just enough to remind me where I stood. Still, I stayed. Because walking away from someone you love feels like admitting failure. And I wasn't ready to fail. The first lie didn't sound like a lie. That's how they get away with it. It sounded reasonable. I'm just tired. I have a lot on my mind. Work is stressful. He used those lines like shields. And I wanted to believe him. Then the small things started adding up. He guarded his phone like it held secrets, because it did. He smiled at messages but never shared the joke. He showered longer, dressed better, left earlier, and somehow came home emptier. One evening, I asked him directly, "Is there something you're not telling me?" He laughed, not nervously, casually, as if the question itself was funny. "Why would you ask that?" That was the moment I knew. Not because of what he said, but how fast he said it. People telling the truth don't rush. That night, I cried quietly in the bathroom, sitting on the cold floor, trying not to make a sound. Not because I had proof, but because deep down, I already had the answer. Still, I didn't confront him, because betrayal hurts twice. Once when it happens, and again when you finally accept it. I wasn't ready for the second one yet. There's a moment when denial gets tired. It doesn't scream. It doesn't argue. It just gives up. For me, that moment came on an ordinary afternoon. I was folding laundry when I noticed his shirt. Not lipstick. Not perfume. Something worse. Care. Pressed perfectly. Buttons aligned. I hadn't touched it. Someone else had. I held it in my hands longer than necessary, staring at the fabric like it might explain itself. It didn't. That's when I realized how many excuses I had been making for him. How many times I had chosen comfort over clarity. I sat on the bed and asked myself a question I had avoided for months. If this was happening to someone else, what would I tell her? The answer hurt. I would tell her she already knew. That night, he came home late again. Same excuse. Same tone. Different distance. He ate dinner quietly, scrolling on his phone, smiling at something I wasn't allowed to see. I didn't ask anymore, because asking keeps you powerless. Watching gives you control. The truth didn't arrive dramatically. No confrontation. No shouting. Just a mistake. His mistake. He left his phone unlocked on the kitchen counter. And for the first time, I didn't look away. My hand shook as I picked it up. Not because I wanted to invade his privacy, but because I already knew what I'd find. Names can lie. Messages don't. There it was. Not love poetry. Not romance. Comfort. Familiarity. Inside jokes. Late night conversations that should have belonged to us. She knew his moods, his complaints, his excuses. She knew things I had begged him to talk about. That hurt more than the affair itself, because he didn't just cheat. He replaced me emotionally while keeping me physically present. I sat there for a long time, not crying, just breathing, because once you see the truth clearly, tears feel pointless. When he came into the kitchen, I didn't say a word. I handed him the phone. He froze, and in that silence, I learned everything. He didn't apologize first. He explained. That's always the order when someone is protecting themselves. It didn't mean anything. It just happened. You're overreacting. Each sentence felt like another push off a cliff. He blamed stress, work, loneliness, even me. You haven't been the same lately. That one cut deep, because it meant he noticed my pain and chose to step over it. I asked him one question. Were you ever going to tell me? He didn't answer. That was his answer. He promised it was over. Promised transparency. Promised effort. And a part of me wanted to believe him, because endings are terrifying. But something had already changed. I wasn't heartbroken anymore. I was alert. And alert people don't get fooled twice. They always think you'll calm down, that you'll accept the apology and move on. That healing means forgetting. I pretended to try. I smiled. I nodded. I listened. And I watched. 2 weeks later, his phone buzzed at midnight. Different name. Same tone. I didn't confront him this time, because this wasn't confusion. This was a choice. That night, while he slept peacefully beside me, I made a decision. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to fight. I was going to let him expose himself. Revenge doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks calm, calculated. I stopped asking questions. I stopped reacting. And that scared him more than anger ever could. I started documenting everything. Dates, messages, patterns, not for drama, for clarity. Because when the truth finally comes out, details matter. I didn't rush, because rushed revenge is messy, and I wanted justice. I knew one thing. If I confronted him again, he'd lie again. So instead, I waited. I let him feel safe. I let him believe he had control. People reveal the most when they think they're winning, and he revealed everything. The hardest part wasn't staying quiet. It was pretending to be normal, laughing at his jokes, cooking his favorite meals, asking about his day like nothing was wrong. Every smile felt borrowed. Every kiss felt staged. But I learned something important during that time. When someone thinks they fooled you, they stop being careful. He started slipping, leaving his phone unattended, talking freely, sharing stories that didn't add up. And I listened, not like a wife, like a witness. At night, while he slept, I replayed conversations in my head, connecting dots, finding patterns. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. At first, I thought she was the problem, the other woman. But then I realized something worse. She wasn't the first. She was just the most recent. There were deleted conversations, hidden emails, names saved under fake contacts. This wasn't a mistake. It was a lifestyle. And suddenly my pain made sense. Why he never fully showed up. Why he always kept a part of himself distant. Because he was living multiple lives. And I was the one holding them together. People think love disappears with anger. It doesn't. Love disappears with disappointment. The moment I stopped loving him wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. I watched him explain a story I knew was fake. And instead of feeling hurt, I felt tired. That's when I knew. You can't rebuild something that was never honest. And you can't save someone who enjoys the damage they cause. That night, I slept better than I had in months. Because clarity is peaceful. I didn't want revenge fueled by emotion. I wanted the truth to speak for itself. So I gathered it. Screenshots, timelines, messages saved carefully, quietly. I backed everything up. I made sure there was no room for denial. Because liars don't fear confrontation. They fear proof. And soon he would have nowhere to hide. I planned the reveal like a normal moment. No drama. No warning. I invited his family for dinner. I invited friends. People who trusted him. People who believed his image. He didn't question it. Why would he? He thought I was broken. He thought I was weak. That was his biggest mistake. That evening, the house felt different. Heavy, like it was holding its breath. He laughed louder than usual. Acted warmer. More affectionate. Guilt often looks like charm. I watched him closely, memorizing the version of him that was about to disappear. When everyone sat down, I stood up. My hands didn't shake. My voice didn't crack. Because I wasn't angry anymore. I was honest. I want to share something, I said. The room went quiet. He smiled nervously. I looked straight at him. And then I told the truth. Not emotionally. Factually. Dates. Messages. Patterns. No insults. No exaggeration. Just reality. The silence after that was louder than any argument. He didn't interrupt. Because for the first time, he had no words. Nobody spoke. Not his mother. Not his friends. Not even him. Silence has a way of stripping people naked. He stared at the table, then at me, then at the walls, like he was looking for an exit that didn't exist. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. That scared him more than anger ever could. Because anger still means attachment. Calm means you've already left. His sister broke the silence first. Is this true? He opened his mouth, closed it, then nodded. That single movement carried years of lies with it. And just like that, the man who controlled every story lost control of his own. He tried. Of course he did. He looked at everyone and said, I made mistakes, but this should have stayed private. That word, private, as if my pain was an inconvenience, as if truth needed permission. I spoke calmly. I protected his privacy for years. Tonight I chose honesty. No drama, no accusations, just clarity. People shifted in their seats because deep down, everyone knows the difference between exposure and accountability. And that night they saw it too. What he didn't understand was this. His real fear wasn't losing me. It was losing how people saw him. The loyal husband, the dependable friend, the good man. Images are fragile. Truth cracks them fast. Friends stopped defending him. Questions replaced excuses. And for the first time in his life, he couldn't charm his way out. I watched quietly, not with joy, with closure, because justice isn't loud. It's inevitable. Later that night, after everyone left, he broke. Not in anger, in panic. You ruined everything, he said. I looked at him and replied softly, No, I just stopped fixing what you kept breaking. He begged, promised change, therapy, transparency. He cried, real tears, but tears don't erase patterns. They just reveal regret. And regret without responsibility is just fear of consequences. I told him the truth. I don't want revenge. I want peace. And peace doesn't include you. Leaving wasn't dramatic. I packed quietly. I didn't take everything, just what mattered. As I walked out, I felt lighter. Not because the pain disappeared, but because I stopped carrying his lies. He stood there watching, for the first time, powerless. And I realized something important. Revenge didn't change him. It changed me. People think revenge stories end with applause. They don't. They end with silence, lonely nights, second guessing, healing that comes slowly. But here's the difference. This pain was honest. It didn't confuse me. It didn't lie. And that made all the difference. He tried reaching out months later. Apologies again. I didn't respond. Because some doors don't need slamming, just closing. He lost more than a relationship. He lost the version of himself he pretended to be. And that loss follows him everywhere. Here's what betrayal teaches you. Love doesn't ask you to disappear. Trust doesn't make you feel small. And silence is not peace. If someone keeps choosing lies, believe them. And choose yourself. When everything finally ended, I expected relief to feel louder. It didn't. It felt still. No racing thoughts. No tight chest. No constant questions. Just quiet. For weeks, I woke up expecting the familiar ache. But instead, there was space. Space where anxiety used to live. Space where doubt once sat. I learned something important in that silence. Peace doesn't rush in. It waits for honesty. And once it arrives, it doesn't beg to stay. I didn't miss him. I missed who I thought he was, the man I defended, the future I imagined. That grief surprised me, because you can lose someone without losing the person. You lose the idea, and ideas take longer to mourn. Some nights I cried, not because I wanted him back, but because I finally understood how deeply I had believed in something that never existed. That realization didn't weaken me. It freed me. I stopped explaining myself, stopped justifying my choices. I didn't need approval anymore. I rebuilt slowly. New routines, new friendships, new confidence. Not louder, clearer. I trusted my instincts again. And that trust became my foundation. Betrayal takes something from you, but it also returns something you didn't know you lost. Your voice, your boundaries, your clarity. It forces you to see people as they are, not as you wish they'd be. And once you see that clearly, you stop begging. You start choosing. If you're listening to this and something feels familiar, if you've been quiet to keep the peace, if you've been doubting yourself instead of their actions, hear this. Love doesn't confuse you. Truth doesn't hide. And you don't need proof to trust your pain. You don't owe loyalty to someone who keeps betraying your trust. Here's the truth about revenge. It isn't about hurting someone back. It's about refusing to be erased. My revenge wasn't exposure. It was self-respect. It wasn't loud. It was final. Because the strongest ending isn't watching someone fall. It's walking away unchanged by their lies. I once thought closure meant answers. I was wrong. Closure is the moment you stop asking. And if there's one thing betrayal taught me, it's this. Someone who truly loves you will never make you beg for honesty.